We've been having a lot of fun talking about each draft pairing for the Chicago Bulls, doing different combination of players. Today, we're going to continue that with one of the players that you guys have been asking the most about for me to talk about, and that is we're going to pair Aday Mara with both Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer and talk about which each pairing could bring differently for the Chicago Bulls. Also, according to Sam Smith, he reports that a nightmare scenario for the Bulls would be if Darren Peterson falls to number 4. I actually disagree with that pretty wholeheartedly. So we're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today, y'all. And we're going to continue to draft parents. It's been a lot of fun to have this, a lot of fun to do this. A lot of you guys also have been getting very involved with it, in which I appreciate. Because it makes it a lot more fun when we as a community get involved. We have fun conversations about it. And that's really what this is. Like, we don't know exactly what Bryson Graham is going to do in the draft, right? Like, of course, at number 4, the Bulls really don't have control over who falls to them. At number 15, if they want to go best player available as well, they may not have the best control over that either. But there are a lot of different options out there for the Chicago Bulls and a lot of different ways that we can go. Now, per what we've heard, a lot about it is built around the Chicago Bulls looking at a forward and a guard. That's what we've heard right now. But most people will tell you that one of the Bulls' biggest needs as well as is a center. Now, Aday Mara is somebody that a lot of Bulls fans really do like. I don't think he's going to be there for the Bulls at number 15, but because we have heard that the Bulls could be interested in moving up a couple of spots or whatnot, it's a possibility that maybe Aday Mara is one of those guys that they look at. And so because of that, I want to talk about this one. I want to look at what's going to happen here in regards. So, of course, the Bulls sit at number 4. We know what's going to happen there. Or as far as that's the draft pick we have. Can they move up from number 15? That's a conversation maybe for another day. With the draft only 9 days away, 9 days into the NBA draft, man, I can't wait to get that done. Let's talk about this, right? So, Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara versus Cam Boozer and Aday Mara, right? I think when you kind of just look at it, just as we get into more details on this topic, the thing is, just off the top, Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara brings athleticism, length, tons of rim protection, and it raises the Bulls' defensive ceiling quite considerably. A Cam Boozer and Aday Mara pairing would bring more polish to the front court. It would bring a lot of power to the team, a lot of size as well, and I do think a lot more half-court stability as well, as Caleb Wilson right now is probably going to be best in transition, catching lobs, things like that, in the more up-tempo, right? And I think, even if you taking Bryson Graham and the whole slap thing, like I've said before, everything isn't about slap. Even Bryson Graham has said himself when he brought it up, they're not going to pass up a good player. You don't have to be a good player for this team. It just you can not fit slap and still be a good player for this team, right? But let's talk about Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara and why that could potentially fit, right? We already know Caleb Wilson, the defense, the half-court ability as far as being a cutter, a driver, those type of things, the multiple positions that he can defend as well. And then you bring Aday Mara, who's one of those large, giant rim protecting guys. So you would have Caleb Wilson, who can guard multiple positions, can move around, can switch, and Aday Mara, who isn't going to be the modern switchable big, but is going to be able to patrol that paint, put a big body on opposing centers, that thing. That combination would immediately change the whole way our front court looks. Either one would in a lot, right? When you have a guy in Caleb Wilson who's known as an elite athlete, the defensive tools are there, top 5 upside when it all comes down to it as well. The 19 points that he averages, 9.4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.4 blocks, 57% shooting. I know it off the top of my head because we've talked about it so much. And then you look at Aday Mara, 7'3", 260 pounds, a 7-foot wingspan, 9'9" standing reach as well. He averaged 12 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 2.6 blocks while shooting 66% from the field. And oh, by the way, because he played with Yaxel Lindenberg and Morez Johnson, those rebounds, I know he only averaged 6.8, but he's probably going to get easily 10 to 12 rebounds at the NBA level, right? Wilson gives the Bulls a baseline elite athlete And Amara would give them a true old school type defensive anchor. May not be the most switchable, but they would bring in that front court identity and DNA that the Bulls have not had for a long time. And I think when you look at how it fits the Bulls' current roster, we need it. I mean, period, point blank. We need a multifunctional defender. We need a player with star level upside, and we need an anchor. And between the two, between Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara, they bring that back. And also, I think this is the pairing that would be helped by Josh Giddey a lot, right? Like, we'll talk about the Cam Boozer side of this, but Caleb Wilson isn't the half-court creator that Cam Boozer is, right? So because of that, it brings you to the point where Josh Giddey as the transition runner, somebody who can get lob threats. Caleb Wilson is the transition runner. Josh Giddey runs the offense in the transition. It would give him a cutter and a lob threat, and somebody who on that short roll can benefit from Josh Giddey's creation and his passing. Same thing with Aday Mara. It would give Josh Giddey a huge target, a post hub, and a high post passer that he can get the ball to as well. I think when you look at Josh Giddey and how he plays with size, it really works really good in that one. And so Josh Giddey really becomes a huge point in helping these guys as their offense develops at the NBA level. You can run actions where Josh Giddey initiates the offense. Aday Mara catches it at the elbow. Caleb Wilson cuts from the dunker spot. And then Buzelis can also slash and finish around the rim. It offers a lot. Now, I do think you need a lot. You would rely more heavily on Buzelis' three-point shooting, and you need a lot of three-point shooting at the 2 at that point in time. But I think it really works. And having a modern front court with Caleb Wilson, and Aday Mara, that really opens up a lot of things in regards to it. And it makes Buzelis no longer our only front court piece of the future. And then if Noa Essengue actually turns into a decent player as well, like having Buzelis, Caleb Wilson, Noa Essengue who can play either spot, and then you have Aday Mara, and oh, by the way, Leonard Miller as well. That starts getting really interesting when it comes down to it. A front court of Caleb Wilson, and Aday Mara, real modern size. We're no longer small across the board, right? That's a group that can defend, that can switch, that can rebound, that can protect the rim, all those type of things. You add in Noa Essengue and Leonard Miller to back those guys up, it creates a major front court competition. And I want that. For Leonard Miller, Noa Essengue, I want those guys to be pushing each other for those spots, and that's what it would do in that case. Noa Essengue right now, Leonard Miller are both tools, right? Like, that's what it is. Right now, we don't know exactly what they're going to be. With Wilson, Mara, and Modest raising the talent level overall on the team, it puts less pressure on them, but they can find themselves in really complementary roles, and even more than that when it comes down to it. So I think also when you look at Aday Mara as well, like, if he doesn't make it to number 15 for the Bulls, you probably have to trade into the top 10 to get him. The 7'3" height, 7'6" wingspan, all that type of stuff. This is a guy that the biggest concern, right, with this pairing comes down to it, I think, is this as well, is that Aday Mara is mainly a drop coverage big. Now, I don't think he's only a drop coverage big, but he is mainly a drop coverage big. He doesn't bring that new kind of modern switching that you like to get from bigs, right? But Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara, I think that they cover up each other's weaknesses as well. I think they do that because Aday Mara isn't the most switchable big. Caleb Wilson can switch all over the court. Same for Modest, that he projects to be that way. And so I think that you look at that part of it, they could protect each other overall. They give Josh Giddey better targets as well, and it gives you a real front court ecosystem that you can build around that the Bulls have not had in a long way. The biggest concerns are really two big concerns with it, right? Is the shooting. Caleb Wilson shot 25.9% from 3 on low value. He's going to have to really work on that. Aday Mara's three-point shooting is not something that you want to rely on. You don't want to draft Aday Mara and be like, oh, yeah, start shooting threes for us. You don't want to do that, right? Ideally, you don't want him shooting threes at all. So the spacing becomes a problem if Modest, Josh Giddey, whoever is the starting 2, can't provide enough spacing. The defense is going to be able to pack it in on you, and that's where you get to. While Aday Mara does have elite size, no doubt about it, he's not going to switch very much, right? He's probably going to only guard 5s and then sometimes the bigger 4s as well. So if teams try to draw him out and put him in switches where he's drawn out to the guard actions, that's where Caleb Wilson, Buzelis, whoever else is the defender, Isaac Okoro, if he's still on this roster, those guys are going to be even more, Noa Essengue, they're going to be even more important to protect those switches as well. And then is there a developmental traffic in regards to it? I don't think, because I do think Caleb Wilson is going to develop as a three-point shooter. I don't know how good he's going to be as a three-point shooter, but I do think he's going to improve as a three-point shooter, and the Bulls are right to look at that part of it. Now, let's flip this and let's look at the other side of this, right? The Cam Boozer and Aday Mara part of this as well. What does that end up looking like for this team? This pairing has kind of more balance with offense and defense, right? Like, but they have also, you would have a really unathletic front court, but we'll get into that in a second, right? We know with Cam Boozer, 22.5 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 4 assists, shot 56% from the field, and 38% from three, something like that. This is a guy that can shoot the ball, which is really good. You want somebody who can shoot the ball. Boozer can shoot the ball. I think people forget that, and it's always funny seeing how Bulls fans that don't actually watch college basketball, like, well, we know who Cam Boozer is. He's his dad. It's like, no, he's actually not. He's not the same type of player as his father at all. And he shot 39% on almost 4 attempts per game. That's decent enough. I don't need my 4 necessarily. I don't need them being like Boston Celtics taking a bunch of threes, but be able to hit them and be able to be used in that, in those actions. And Cam Boozer can do that, right? So I think when you look at it, Cam Boozer is he's going to be a really polished half-court offense, right? You talk about Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara. The half-court offense can stagnate if you don't have Mata shooting threes, Josh Giddey shooting threes in the 2. With Cam Boozer being somebody that can pass, can shoot, can score, can get into the mid-roll, can get into the mid-range game, all that type of stuff, he ups that half-court ceiling for the Bulls. I think Aday Mara in the half-court, he's smart enough as well to know how to pass out the post. So having somebody like Cam Boozer there as well, it can work really good. I think that it's kind of more of the old school balance when you look at that one. But the biggest weaknesses in regards to it is the athleticism. This is not going to be the athletic ceiling is going to be much lower than what it is with a Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara, for example, right? And I know Cam Boozer scored a lot better than people were giving him credit for in the draft combine, and that's good, right? Boozer will have to defend some of the quicker power forwards, and Aday Mara is going to get targeted in space. And those two things can create a recipe for disaster for the modern NBA and how things are going. I do think if the Bulls want to change that physical DNA, Wilson and Mara are maybe the stronger kind of what you think of the Bryson Graham fit. But if you want a safer foundation, Boozer and Aday Mara bring that cleaner basketball fit. Like they have the front, and I'm going to bring in some comparisons to them, but I think that's really what you look at. Cam Boozer is a really good creator in the half court. That opens some things up. You need shooters around him that can benefit from it, and shooting becomes even more of a premium at that point in time. But I think with Cam Boozer being a more natural, fluid scorer that can score on 2.5 levels, I won't call it a full 3 level score, but 2.5 levels, it's kind of more of an offensive balance, but the defense becomes a bit of a concern. So I think when you look at the two, Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara bring more of a higher defensive ceiling, whereas Cam Boozer and Aday Mara, your offensive ceiling gets a little bit better, while your defense is still solid. Like it's still solid, but not as high as it would be with Caleb Wilson as it would be with Cam Boozer and Aday Mara. So that's the part that you look at in regards to it. But I want to talk about some of the front courts that it can be compared to, right? And I mean, I'm not saying that these are players who they will become. Let me be clear here when people hear these comps. I'm not saying that these are who they will become. I'm talking more about stylistically the fit and the skill set overlap. Right now, there's going to be a little bit difference of it, but I think when you look at Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara, especially if Caleb Wilson becomes a better shooter, you're kind of looking at a more kind of like an Evan Mobley, Jared Allen type fit. Like I think you're kind of looking at that, right? Same thing, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams. I think that in a little bit of a way that you're looking for it at. I think those are really good comps to that. Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, those are really kind of good stylistic things that you're looking at. Not saying that these are players that they're going to become, but stylistically, it kind of makes sense when you look at that part of it, right? And then you also, when you look at the archetype of Cam Boozer and Aday Mara together, I'm thinking a modern-day Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol pairing. Now, Zach Randolph didn't shoot a lot of threes. That's where it becomes different at. Again, we're going to this stylistically, not necessarily saying it's a one-for-one skill set overlap, but I think that there is some comparisons between what that front court and Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol were able to do that Cam Boozer and Aday Mara would be able to do. I also think you got to look at as well Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner. I think that's a really good front court. Not super hugely athletic players in either case, but they got it done. It's probably the cleanest modern kind of comparison to those guys. Boozer would be a more physical offensive hub and rebounder, while Aday Mara would be that rim-protecting center that you look at in regards to that. The question does, of course, become about the spacing long terms in regards to that one. And maybe a little bit of Al Horford, Robert Williams, when they were both with the Celtics as well. Maybe that kind. That's less about the scoring profile, more about the pairing of smart passing with big man that has a vertical kind of rim threat with it. I think that's what you're looking at. So I'll say this. If the Bulls were to draft Caleb Wilson at 4 and get Aday Mara somehow, they're making a statement. And I think the same thing about Cam Boozer and Aday Mara. They'd be locking up something. Caleb Wilson and Aday Mara could be the ultimate Bryson Graham kind of identity swing to add to this team. Caleb Wilson adds an athletic 4-5 who can run, 3-4-5 that can run, defend, and cover ground, while Aday Mara would bring that 7'3" defensive anchor that the Bulls have just not had for a while. He's not going to be switchable, but that does not mean that he still can't help this team out. I think that's really what you're looking at in regards to that one. Let me know what you guys think on that down below, though. Like, how do you feel about this? A lot of you guys asked for me to talk about these pairings with Aday Mara specifically. I don't know if he's going to be in the Bulls' range. I just don't know if the Bulls, like, Aday Mara's draft swing could go anywhere from 6 all the way down to like 10, 11, 12, right? So I don't know what the Bulls would do in that again. And most of what we've heard throughout the last couple of weeks has been the Bulls more looking at forward and guard. But let me know what you guys think in regards to that. There's some concerns. There's some positives. Tons of positives with both of those. We just got to see what's going to happen in regards to the long-time safety. I do think Boozer, Mara may be a little bit more safer because they're both very high floor prospects. Whereas Caleb Wilson, if Caleb Wilson works in that 3 and develops that even more than just being a serviceable 3, the upside could be a little bit higher there than the floor with the other guys. So let me know what you guys think on that one. But I want to get into this last topic for today. Well, semi-last topic, right? Sam Smith called a frame that Darren Peterson falling to the Chicago Bulls at number 4 would be a bit of a nightmare scenario for the Bulls, saying this. As I've mentioned, Peterson is my Bulls' nightmare pick. If he gets to number 4 and they take him, I'll be rooting for him, but given their seasons among the projected top 4, he seems the only bust possibility. Not that their other 3 will be all-stars. They may be, but they all look like they'll be reliable high-level starters and buoyant personalities. Peterson has the big-time star potential, but I don't quite see, though it's difficult, as many games as he missed or left early. Now, that comes from Sam Smith. All respect to Sam Smith. I want to be clear here. All respect to Sam Smith. But I will say this. What? To act like Darren Peterson is somehow some type of damage consolation prize is just where the narrative has just shifted so much on Darren Peterson, and I just don't get it. Now, do I think he's going to fall to the Bulls at 4? No, but guess what? If he does fall to the Bulls, you got somebody who cares, somebody who has that edge, somebody who has that personality that he wants to be the best at what he does. And I get it. That took a bit of a hit with him sitting out games, missing games, all that type of thing. But the thing I always go back to is, to me, it feels like his college and him, they knew that coming in. That was the plan, is to preserve him, to get him ready for his NBA journey. That's what it felt like to me. So hearing this now from Sam Smith is just, I don't agree with this. I don't look at Darren Peterson and say that Bryson Graham would look at Darren Peterson and say this is a nightmare scenario for Darren Peterson to fall to us. I just do not believe that at all. A player that actually cares about defense, and then of course there's some people. Well, I take Darius Cuff over Darren Peterson. All right, I can't wait to see how their NBA careers go because I think Darren Peterson has absolutely star level upside, superstar upside. Darren Peterson could very well end up leading the league in scoring at some point. So I get it that, some of the draft narratives are the draft narratives. It happened last year with Ace Bailey. It happens in some drafts, but I tell you what, let 3 GMs pass up on Darren Peterson and let the Chicago Bulls get Darren Peterson. I am willing to almost guarantee it that by the end of Darren Peterson's first year, a lot of Bulls fans are going to be like, hey, can you believe that he fell at number 4? That's firmly what I personally believe. So I get it that Darren Peterson has his doubters and his detractors, and that comes with the territory, and that's a result also of him sitting out and leaving games early. That becomes a byproduct of that. But I think for those that just look at the pure basketball of it all, Darren Peterson is going to be a dog, and I truly do believe that. And the Bulls really, I don't think they can really shake their head at any of these guys in the top 4 that fall to them, and that's my personal opinion. But the actual last topic before we get up out of here today, Brett Siegel reported on Sunday in his blog that the Chicago Bulls could hire their head coach as soon as today, Monday. So, listen, this has been a long journey. I'll say this. I get it that it's been put out there. I do believe Tiago Splitter, Micah Nori, and Ryan Schmidt all had their in-person interviews over the course of the weekend up until today. And so this could be the day that it's done. But I do not want people to be disappointed if the day comes and goes and you do not hear the Bulls' next head coach name. I don't want people to really freak out or think that the Bulls are dragging their feet or whatever it is. I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be what it's going to be. We're gonna go through this. We're gonna deal with it. And it's just about the Bulls getting the right guy. I get it. We all want this coaching search to be done because we want to know who's going to coach this next phase of the Chicago Bulls. And it says a lot that Bulls fans are actually excited about this. But just get the right guy. That's all it comes down to, is get the right guy. And it could be Schmidt. It could be Micah Nori. It could be Thiago Splitter. I know everybody has their favorite of who they want to see land this job, but these all guys all have different claims to it. It just depends on what Bryson Graham is going to do. And I guess we'll see how that's going to shake out. But that's going to do it for today, man. The Bulls are in a great position to continue to reshape this roster and reshape the direction of this team. The question for me to you guys is simple in this one. Say the Bulls can walk away with Aday Mara at any spot in this draft. Do you want Caleb Wilson or do you want Cam Boozer as the 4 next to Aday Mara? Let me know what you guys think on that one down below. It would fit the identity shift and swing and the stuff that we're trying to do. And then when it comes to Darren Peterson, what are your honest thoughts on if Darren Peterson falls to the Chicago Bulls at number 4? Let me know. Do you think that it's a nightmare pick, as Sam Smith has said, or do you think that the Bulls could actually be blessed if he falls to number 4? Let me know what you guys think on that one down below. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell if you never want to miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breakthrough Media.